Hi, Leanne Donahue-Tamplin here. Today I wanted to just describe what emotional abuse is. There's a lot around in the media at the moment around emotional abuse and what it entails, and I think it's a little bit unclear in terms of a definition. So in a relationship, if you are feeling intimidated, threatened, constantly criticized, yelled at, that you can't do anything right, that you're walking on eggshells. Quite often in these relationships, the abuser will identify the things that you're most, vulnerable about. So, for example, if you're often, wanting to be the best mum you can, then the criticisms will be about you not being good enough as a mother. So you really doubt yourself and you feel quite rattled and uncertain. It may not be about mothering, it might be about your ability at work, or it might be about how you keep the house clean, anything like that. Whatever they work out is something that you're vulnerable about, then that's the thing that they will often keep coming back to. So that becomes very undermined, and you really question that about yourself. As well, in emotionally abusive relationships, women frequently feel quite uncertain all the time, like questioning themselves. So that happens when perpetrators will do things like say, I did tell you that yesterday, or can't you remember when that happened? When you're really quite sure that isn't what happened. And so you start losing touch with what is reality. They call it gaslighting quite often, but it's that real sense of, wait a minute, am I right, or is he lying to me? Or you just kind of don't really know where you sit. The long-term effects of those kinds of things are quite dramatic, in that when women are no longer in those relationships, they really struggle to work out what it is that they're feeling inside. What do I really know? What's my truth? Who am I? Because the emotional abuse has left them questioning all of those things. Often a lot of the women I talk to will say that their friends or family members are saying to them, you're so lucky, you have such a great relationship. And they're kind of thinking in their head, what? Because no one else really sees this in the relationship. It's something that happens in a very well hidden kind of way. So the perpetrators are often very good at making this look great, making themselves look great. Even being terrific to other people, being anti-abuse of women, but at home they're the opposite, and people don't see that very often. So I guess one of the things that stands out for me is there was a woman interviewed recently, or a couple of weeks ago, on CNN who'd experienced domestic violence. The guy happened to work in the White House, so it got into the media. And she was describing what she'd lived with. And the CNN interviewer said to her, so would you describe him as a monster? And she said, oh no, he's not a monster. He was smart. He was caring towards other people. People really liked him. He was fun to be around and charming. He did really well and connected really well with other people. So he was very successful. And he could be, emotionally abusive and at times violent to those people who were closest to him. So she was saying, they're not, being one doesn't exclude being the other. I think if you are a perpetrator of domestic abuse, you're going to get caught if everything that you do at home is outwardly shown to everyone else. So you don't behave like that. You know how to behave in the real world. You save that stuff for the person that you're with, which again, when you're living with that, is really confusing, because you're seeing this person who's capable of being so great, but then why is he treating me this way? So, you know, you can still in those situations feel like you love him because you see him behaving like this at other times, being this great person at other times. You can still feel like the relationship is worth persevering with because of that. So it's not something that is happening necessarily all the time, but still it's happening frequently. So that, I guess, is what I think is so tricky about emotionally abusive relationships, is they're hard to see. You don't recognize that you're in them until the abuse has got quite severe. And by then, you're so rattled and your self-esteem is so low because of all the criticism that you've had, then it's really hard to see it for what it is. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.